Hi, my name is Danielle Fields, and this is my case study presentation. Okay, so I did my case study on a 4th grade female. She's age 10. She comes from a single parent home, and she has one sibling, so it's just her and her sister. She has had some medical and health issues this semester. She struggled with some, I guess you would say, mental health issues. She had some tendencies to self-harm, and she had attempted suicide this semester. And she didn't really go into a lot of detail about it with her general ed or her special ed teacher. She just didn't want to talk about it. But she does seek counseling for that, just to give you some background. Okay, so some of her strengths and some of her weaknesses. For strengths, she is a pretty positive child, which you can see on a daily basis pretty much. She's always, generally happy, and she always tries to, look at things on the brighter side. She's always pretty eager to learn in both the general ed and the special ed classroom that she goes to sometimes for resource. And she's a very friendly child. So she's always, coming up in the mornings to, give you a hug or, see how your day's going and stuff like that. For her weaknesses, even though she can be pretty positive in general, she doubts herself. She doubts herself in her schoolwork. She doubts herself socially. So I think that plays a part in maybe some of her, personal troubles. She can be easily influenced by others also. She allows other students to get her in trouble. She allows other students to sometimes dictate her emotions. Let's see what else. And the last one, she's afraid to ask for help. So if she isn't understanding something in class, she's not one of the kids to raise her hand and say, hey, I don't get it, or I need help. She will kind of pretend to get it, and then you find out only later that she completely just missed it altogether. Okay, so for academic and behavioral challenges, she definitely has trouble in reading comprehension. When I was in the special ed setting, she comes in there for resource, and I would help her all the time with reading and math, and she just doesn't, even when she goes back several times, she just very, very much has trouble, comprehending what she's reading and what the story deals with. The same thing with mathematics. Multiplication and division are her biggest struggles. I know that, even when they're in class taking the fact drills, she almost never makes, a passing grade on those. So she definitely has issues there. She does not like to have, I guess you'd say, authority, or when a teacher doubts something that she says or does, she gets defensive, and she likes to argue her point of view rather than just accepting what the teacher's telling her to do or asking her to do. She has issues with lying. You could see her do something, and she will flat out continue to withhold that she even did that thing. So I've seen her do several things that she gets in trouble for, and she will flat out just lie and say that it never happened, even though you watched it happen. She's also had issues with stealing. She has stole not only from a student, but she has also stole from a teacher. So those things have become an issue. And she has been violent at times. My first week in the field, I witnessed her bite a child because the kid took her pencil, or there was some sort of issue with that, and instead of coming to a teacher to ask for help with the situation, she chose to take it into her own hands and ended up biting the child. And then she lied about biting her, and it turned into a whole issue. So, so for academic and behavioral history, she does have an IEP. She is labeled LD, she has a learning disability. She has issues, like I said before, with comprehension, reading comprehension, and math. She has, like I said before, behavioral issues, like with herself, listening to authority and doing what she's asked to do without, interference. And she has social issues with other students, stealing and lying and, violent confrontation sometimes. So those are things that are definitely issues. Okay, so as far as my student observation, As far as when adults are generally present, she tries to be on her best behavior, or she tries to appear to be on her best behavior. If she thinks you're watching her, or she thinks that another adult is watching, or there are multiple adults present, generally she has good behavior, positive behavior. It's only when it's either less adults in the room, or a more free setting, recess or lunch, where there's less adult supervision, direct adult supervision, is when the negative behaviors start to come out. Like I said before, she's easily influenced by other students in social situations, like I said, such as the cafeteria, the playground, or the classroom during like independent work, when there's less adult interaction. It's more student social time. So you really do have to watch her. I also stated earlier that she does lie when she's confronted about inappropriate behaviors. So regardless of whether you saw it happen or not, she's going to maintain that it did not happen. It does not matter how many times you ask for the truth. She's going to maintain that it did not happen. Okay, so social strengths and challenges. Like I said before, she is a friendly child, so she does attempt to make friends and be friendly in the social setting. She's very eager to help her classmates and help others, whether it be helping a teacher, carry something or file something. She does want to be helpful, and even to her classmates, she tries to help them with things. She attempts to share an interest with other students also. I know there's a student that she tries to relate to that draws. She likes to draw. She's into drawing. So those are some of her social strengths. Some of her challenges is she definitely does not handle rejection well, which no one does, but she has sometimes a violent reaction to that, and can even hold a grudge against that student. I know I've sat with her several times, and she's told me things about other students that have rejected her that were not positive things. I already stated before that she has violent tendencies when it comes to conflict, biting. I've seen her bite a student, like I said before, and hit a student. And she lies or exaggerates the truth. So sometimes the students will say, Tatiana said this and blah, blah, blah. So it's exaggerated truth. They have to figure out that she's not being honest with them. Okay, so let's see. Effective interventions. So she does go to resource to complete some of her classroom work as needed, or tests as needed, when it comes to either performing poorly on one, or just not finishing it, or needing extra time, or things like that in the resource room. She does better with direct response questions. I noticed when I was helping her in the resource room that direct response questions, as far as reading comprehension, definitely helped her, as opposed to just reading the test question by question. So definitely receiving one-on-one test help, I felt like, was beneficial to her. Small group reading sessions where she can hear other students read, see other students read, and see how reading and comprehension come together as one. Math fact drills, she definitely, as far as both multiplication and division, she definitely needed intervention in both of those, because she was not having passing grades on those. As far as intervention reflection, the direct response questioning, reading the story and then me asking her the questions as opposed to just reading them through, definitely I felt helped her. She seemed to have a better grasp on the story once we read it and then went through those questions orally. And so, let's see, resource and one-on-one progress. Definitely progress in, like I said, doing the one-on-one response questions in the resource room outside of the general ed setting. I felt like definitely gave her some help that was positive. Small group was also positive. Like I said, getting to hear those other students read and, facilitate how reading comprehension can work, and how just being able to see other students do it, I think there was some progress there. Math fact drills, there was definitely minimal progress. She still is not really receiving passing grades on either the multiplication or the division. So there's definitely room to improve in those areas. Okay, let's see. So for special interventions, I felt because she struggles both socially and somewhat academically, that just praising her when she's working hard or she's staying on task is definitely important. And just making sure to keep encouraging her so that there is lack of self-doubt there. And I learned that basically positivity is the way to go with students. You know, if you give them positivity, they're going to respond in a positive way. So I think that plays a big role. I think it's one of the biggest things that is going to encourage them to learn. And it will hopefully downgrade those negative triggers and negative responses. And us as the teacher are the facilitators to that positive behavior. So if the students see us being positive to that student, they're going to respond in a positive way also. So we are the facilitators. And improvement is always possible. So it's never impossible. All right, the end.